When the TV won't work.
Awesome. Hey, Graham.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. I'm doing really good. I had a super busy day, but I found the time to get a good lighting and whatnot. So
awesome.
So yeah, thanks for joining me. So we have a couple of people, and I think the rest of the people probably join us while we're chatting. Yeah. So everyone's probably wondering what the big announcement is. So I wanted to bring you on so that everyone can meet you. So this is Graham Sparkman, everybody, for those of you who don't know. Do you want to introduce yourself, or should I I feel like you should introduce yourself. I don't want to miss
For sure. I'm a musician, been a musician most all my life, hard pressed to remember a time when I wasn't doing music. And delighted to be here with Aliah tonight and to make this big announcement. So yeah, I'm just a lifelong musician, as is Aliah, and really happy to be on the program this evening.
Yes. So so just to kind of give people a little bit of a background of how this whole thing happened before we get to the announcement. So there is this platform called Sound Better that I'm sure a ton of us musicians have come across, especially throughout COVID, and all the remote working and all that stuff. And I was just actually working on my my next EP, and then I had gotten an email from Graham asking if I'd be interested in working on a project with him. And I was super excited about the project because it's something that really hit close to home for me, and it was something that I saw as useful for other people, and it's something that I would have loved to have had as a younger child, honestly. So fast forward to now, we've actually it's Graham's album. This is all Graham, but I'm just super stoked to be a part of it. And it is essentially a jazz album for kids. So it's released. It's now on all platforms. So Spotify, Apple Music, right? YouTube,
yes,
Amazon. Right?
Anywhere where you go to get your music, it is there.
Yes, awesome. So you guys follow Graham Sparkman on his new Instagram account. So get him some follows, get those follows up. He's got a Facebook page as well. Mm-hmm. You're on YouTube, yeah?
Yes.
It's on YouTube as well. Yeah, I checked it on YouTube. So yeah, go follow him, Spotify, all that good stuff. Yeah, you can check out the album. It's also going to be attached on my Spotify and everything as well. So it's linked together. So if you follow me, you can follow Graham as well. So yes, it's the jazz album for kids. And honestly, this was such a cool project for me because I wasn't even thinking about it as a huge project. It was more shoot, this is something really awesome that I would have loved to have had as a child. So thanks for reaching out, first of all. Yeah, and honestly, it was just super cool for me because I've never had the opportunity to arrange back vocals for an entire album for somebody else. It's one thing to do it for yourself, but I think to try to capture what it is that another musician has in mind, or just allow your creativity to be vulnerable and allow somebody else to kind of just be yeah, okay, I trust you in that. I think that really helped me grow as an artist, and I just had to kind of take that step and just see where it took us. So I'm really pleased with how everything came out. Oh, we got a ton more people viewing us. So let me just shout them out. So hi, Hug Planet and Honore, what's up? This is my cousin. Jay Franco, 45, he's always in here. Thanks for tuning in. I see your brother, Cedric. What's up?
Hi,
hey. Yeah, so yeah, when I started the live, we were playing I Care, which is the first song you had sent to me. Can you maybe give a little background of what inspired that song? Because I feel that was really the tone of the whole EP, really, or that whole album, really.
You're spot on. Yeah, it really is. That was one of the very early songs. It was written by the late Tom T. Hall, who he's a Kentucky native. As I mentioned at the top of this thing, I grew up in Eastern Kentucky, and he wrote a ton of songs over decades for both country and bluegrass. And was just really beloved by a lot of folks that I knew growing up. And so I knew that song. In fact, Tom T. Hall put out a kids album, and I think that song was featured on one of his children's albums.
Wow.
So I knew of it. And it was just it felt like my own words. You know, if I wanted to write a song to my own, first of all, I have 4 kiddos and their ages 3, 6. I got too many kids. I get all their ages confused. 3, 6, 9, and I have a teenager now. She just turned 13.
Yeah.
So I felt like those words really reflected, you know, my own heart for my children. And I thought, how cool would it be if I took Tom T. Hall's song "I Care," which is written in this kind of 70s kind of folky country, the original version, I should say, and then put that into a jazz arrangement. How cool would that be? So that was one of the very early songs for the project. And it did set the tone, as you said, Aliah. It did kind of set the tone.
It really did. No, I mean, for me, it did. I was just like, well, if this is what we're in for the rest of the 7, 8 songs, then yeah, count me in. I didn't really think about it too much. Because honestly, like while I was recording, and I was telling you, like my mom would come downstairs and be like, "You're still recording?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in the zone, man." Like, because you know what it's like when your kids have gone to bed or there's no apps in the house. It's like putting on some jazz and just chilling is like, it doesn't get any better than that. Like drink that. Like that's a vibe that no one can really beat, honestly. So I'm like vibing out to this as if I'm listening to like Sarah Vaughan or something, like by Sinatra or something. Yeah. And then I'm like, I kind of like it didn't really like sink in until later. I'm like, these are kid lyrics. We're talking about getting our haircuts and our parents being mean and stuff like that. And it's just like, it was just such a beautiful way to like, you know, bring jazz together with, you know, a traditional kids album. You know, that's something I would have loved personally, because like I still remember the songs that I listened to as a kid on those children albums. The songs still stick in my head, the lyrics still stick in my head. And I'm just thinking, like, if I had heard like, you know, just jazz music in general, because it's very complex, like, but if you're like listening to that from young, you'll just get used to that as you get older, and it really help your musical ear. So I mean, obviously it happened over time, but had I listened to a jazz album like that as a child, I think I would have loved it, number one, and it probably would have, you know, done wonders for my musical ear now. So I just think that was such an amazing idea, a really great idea. And so it just really like spoke to me immediately. I see some more people just joined in. Hi, Patrick. Thanks for joining. What's up? Hello. So we have to talk about Tristeeza just a little bit, because that's like my other favorite song on the album.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so tell everyone like where the background of that song and like what inspired the Graham version.
Well, Tristeeza is an old Brazilian song that goes back decades and decades. And I think the exact translation of the word Tristeeza is the big sadness or sadness. But it's the lyrics are Tristeeza, the sadness the heart feels, and then it transitions in this vibe of may it leave me forever, and it's replaced. I think the song was actually written between 2 lovers, and that's the vibe. But I got this notion that what if I took this song and wrote it to my children, almost like a love song to my children? Yeah, that's when it got really emotional for me. So it became just that. It became a love song to my kiddos, and towards the end of the song, I called them out by name. But there's something about the chord progression being complex and the rhythmic structure being that classic kind of samba, bossa nova, complex kind of rhythmic structure with that ultra simple melody and those really sweet lyrics. I don't know, it just goes straight to the heart.
You said it exactly. That's it. Honestly, I honestly love that song so much, and it's like what you were saying, like the way it's written, even when we just speak the lyrics, like the first few lines of it, it really just goes straight to the heart. And that's why when I was listening to it, you're like, hey, are you almost done with the song? Like it took me like 2 weeks to get through, and I knocked out the other ones pretty quick. And it's really because like when I'm getting into a song and I'm getting ready to record it, I'm working with another artist, I really try to like immerse myself in the music just to get my ears used to it, so that I can kind of like be like, okay, this is what I hear would go well. This is what I could imagine going here. And I'm kind of figuring out the arrangement before I even lay anything down. But I couldn't get past listening to it without like feeling some type of way. So really, it just took me a while to sort of get through that. And then I was like, okay, now I can record. And I think even the other thing that was really getting to my heart too was hearing your children's names at the end. That just made me like, I could tell how much you love your kids just right off of that, you know, and I could feel it for sure. So I'm hoping, and I'm sure everyone else is going to feel that too. you know, when they hear it as well. And yeah, just another side note, like I love bossa nova, like anything bossa nova, samba, like I have some South American background. So it's like, it was just calling my name. So I literally love that song essentially. So, and
I'll point out this too really quickly, Aliah, that I really don't have a jazz background at all. I do music production, and that frees me up to work out of a wide variety of genres. But I'm at the mercy of experts like you and all the other folks who contributed to this project to bring a certain degree of authenticity to the record, because if it were just me, I would just sound like probably a bluegrass guy, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's who I am. That's where I come from. That's my culture. But being in music production allows me to bring all these awesome folks to the table, such as yourself, who can bring this, you know, in this case, jazz background, and we can all collaborate and work together and create something that is better than certainly the sum of this part. You know, to put out to the world, hopefully as an authentic expression of, in this case, you know, jazz music.
Yeah, no, honestly, I mean, everyone just kind of, I hope everyone just heard that. Like, don't like try to downplay yourself, Graham. I know you're very humble and modest, but literally, like, for someone that did not study jazz their whole life or something like that, I just feel so honored to be part of, you know, such an amazing body of work. And like, I'm in the jazz category. I'm just kind of thrown in there a lot of times. And that's something that's inspired me to become a musician. So the project has been super exciting for me. But just when I hear someone that's like, yeah, this is not like what I've grown up on, like that makes me just inspired to be like, okay, there's definitely a lot more growing that I can do and a lot of amazing things I can do as well. Because I listen to some of your other music as well, and I'm just like, okay, this is a wide variety of sounds, like, and I can definitely hear that. I was just trying to find the name of the song, something about autumn. I can't remember the title.
Hazard in the Autumn.
Yes, that is so beautiful. Like, I just love the vibe of it. It's so pretty and just like very light. It's not overproduced, and it's got that sort of like country sort of feel too, but I just really love that song. So I mean, I would definitely encourage everyone, just go check out Graham Sparkman, follow him on Spotify, YouTube, whatever is your platform of preference. Like, he's just got so much going on, but I feel like it's just very authentic to you, and I feel like that's very refreshing, you know. So I really do enjoy that. But ultimately, this jazz album was like literally my favorite project that I've worked on, and I've done like hip-hop stuff, I've done R&B stuff. But I love how you brought like your flair to the jazz album, so it wasn't just like standard jazz. It had some Graham Sparkman in there as well.
It did, yeah, for sure.
I'm just gonna say, hey, what's up, Ebby? Thanks for tuning in, and Fab, thank you. Le Petit, he's always coming through. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, so the other song we have to talk about, John Kram. That's a really cool track. Can you tell everyone a little bit about the inspiration for that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So my uncle in the late 70s and my dad, both of them grew up kind of watching these European, what we would call, okay, so let me back up. So Sean Connery, James Bond, everybody knows that stuff. 007, you know, spy movies. In the West, in Western Europe and in America, North America, I should say, set off the kind of spy craze in the late 50s. In Europe and Central Europe and other places, they didn't necessarily have the budgets to make those big films like that Sean Connery was in, but that didn't hold them back from making their own versions in France, Germany, especially Italy, of these spy movies. They weren't shown in America, though. They were just strictly for their specific audiences in those European countries. 15, 20 years later, they were shown in America on late night TV. So you had to stay up to like 2 o'clock in the morning back in the days to see these things. And they were dubbed to English. So it was like the old Kung Fu movies where the words don't match, you know. And so my uncle and my dad would stay up to 2 o'clock in the morning to watch these really bizarre Italian and German spy flicks from that were shot 15, 20 years ago in their countries of origin. And anyways, they got the idea, I don't know where this came from, but they got the idea to write a script and make their own version of a B European spy flick. So my dad played Mr. Green Jeans, and my uncle was John Kram. They casted this thing. They rented a helicopter. It was shot on 8mm film.
Wow.
It's a really cool movie. So when I was growing up as a kid, I saw this movie, and like I thought my dad was like, you know, a hero, and like because he was the bad guy, and my uncle was a hero. Anyways, so I have those memories as a child of seeing that movie, and I thought for this kids album, how cool would it be if I wrote a song about John Kram, who was the main the character of the film, the main good guy. And so that's how it came about. I, you know, just based the lyrics directly off of sort of the narrative of the movie.
Yeah.
And got my brother to come to play guitar on it. He's doing all the electric guitar on that. And I got my dad out of retirement. He was Mr. Green Jeans. So he's back on this song to be the voice of Mr. Green Jeans. And so when you hear that song, you'll hear my dad's voice. Yeah, for sure. And the gun that when it fires off and you hear the gunshot, that's actually sampled from the film, the original 1979 film. So cool. Pretty cool little nerdy fact.
No, but that's so cool, like how you actually like picked from the original, because it's like very authentic to the song in that case. I see somebody tamed the Sparkman. Does that?
Yeah. Hi, Tamitha.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, no, so honestly, guys, that's probably one of the most fun songs on the album, I'll say, because whether you're looking at a video or anything or not, and I'm not going to say anything because I know you didn't announce anything about any videos yet, but whether you're looking at anything or not, the actual audio itself will create a pretty cool screenplay in your mind, I feel like, because when I was recording it, just listening to the lyrics, like, it's kind of telling a story. So you're going to just be forced to kind of see what's going on in your head. So it just makes it fun, especially like for kids. Their imaginations are already very, very active and, you know, pretty wild. So they'll have fun with that for sure. But it kind of reminded me of that movie, Rango with Johnny Depp. I know I told you that before.
For sure, yeah.
It just gives me like that Western kind of feel. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anyone else sees the correlation, but let me know if you do after you check out the album. Don't forget.
Spaghetti Western for kids. There it is. It's a spaghetti.
Awesome. Yeah, literally. So just for those of you who just tuned in, this is Graham Sparkman. He put out a jazz album for kids, and I am doing the back vocals, so you will be able to check it out from my Spotify, his Spotify. It's all linked together, so make sure you follow him. Instagram, his new Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple Music, whatever your streaming platform of choice is. Hi, Marishma. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, hello, hello. So, yes, John Kram, that's honestly one of my faves. It was pretty fun.
Also wanted to point out that Aliah did not only do backing vocals. She had a lead vocal track, Skin and Bones, which is an old Appalachian haint tale, as we call it back in the mountains. It's a folk song. It's a spooky song.
Good for October. Yes.
It's very timely. Very timely.
Very timely.
Yes. And I had heard versions of that kind of growing up, different versions. And I thought, well, what if I kind of wrote kind of a jazz arrangement for that? And then I don't know, I kept hearing a female lead. So I was like, I'm going to just have Aliah do the lead on this. I'm not going to even attempt to do it. And I handed it over to you, and you knocked it out of the park. You did a phenomenal job. Thank you.
I have a question for you though.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
How come you switched it up? Because it was like a little bit slower at first, and then you like had like this whole other vibe. Like, what made you switch it up?
I don't know. I think I was just marching to the beat of my own gut intuition on that. I was just in the zone and kind of in the moment. I kind of heard this like slow and spooky intro. And then there was this kind of elongated instrumental section where the drums are playing kind of this neo jazz in the pocket thing. And the bass kind of comes in. It's like this kind of jam band groove jazzy thing. And then you came in with your vocals, which was perfect. And then the whole thing just kind of solidifies. So
I honestly, I love the way that you revamped it, like kind of overnight, if anything, but like it was just a whole different vibe. I mean, I liked the slow version too. That was like, it gave me more creepy feels, but I think the way that it came out and just in the full context of the full album, I think it was just really dope to have like, you know, that more like new school like touch of jazz on there, because then it just seemed a lot more interesting jazz wise rather than just creepy. You know what I mean? I think it worked out really nicely. So I love it.
You know, and you bring up an interesting point. Like, I'm trying to make sure that that these songs are tethered together, that they're part of a cohesive idea or on the album. And I'm trying to make sure that if I take something out of like a bluegrass song or out of an old country song or whatever, putting them into jazz arrangements, you know, I just want to make sure that it doesn't feel Frankenstein, that there's real glue to it, and that it feels like when you go from one track to the next, it's like, oh yeah, this belongs on this album. Like, there's a cohesive sound here. So I'm always kind of thinking about those things.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because I mean, it's different if it's like you have a Michael Myers track in the middle of like a jazz album. It's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
but it totally works. It totally works. And plus, it's like, again, like Halloween and all that fun stuff. That's definitely something that kids can, like, you know, find useful and enjoy even more at this time. So it worked out beautifully. Yeah, that was a really great song. So if you want to hear any solo Aliah work on the album, check out Skin and Bones.
Check it out. I actually had a bunch of boxes that I wanted to kind of check, and I wanted a spooky song, I wanted an action adventure song, I wanted an educational song, I wanted a silly song. So I tried to hit all those boxes, but you know, it's never perfect, but yeah, that's what I was going for.
But I thought that was so, I mean, we'll get to that, but I think it's so interesting to actually have a specifically educational track rather than having every single song be super educational. Cause I mean, entertainment is always great too, you know? But, okay, so let me just look. Okay, first let me shout out _heart_core 11. What's up? That's my travel friend that I met on my way to Toronto last month. Really awesome lady. And then I see Majul, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, 8, but thanks for tuning in. You're awesome. Okay, so wait, let's talk about introducing the band, because that's like the educational,
correct,
well, not quotations, it is the educational track.
So
like that was pretty unique, because I don't remember ever having like you know, because I mean there have been instruments on these children albums that I was listening to. Like at the time I didn't know what a banjo was, because like I come from a Caribbean family and you don't really hear a banjo in most of our music. It would be cool, but I didn't know what that was. So I think it was really cool that you were able to sort of break down, like, you know, whether it's a piano or, you know, a xylophone. Like most kids probably wouldn't know it's called the vibes, but I think all of those little sections were super cool. So yeah, like what made you want to put that in the album?
Probably Fred Rogers' Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Oh, yes.
I mean, who's not a fan, right? Who's not a fan? Yeah. I mean, he's just like, he makes educational things seem so non-educational, so approachable. And I don't know, I just got the idea of, if I could somehow explain in a very fun and friendly way these instruments, so that when the kids hear them, rather than talking, you know, academically about, you know, this instrument, you know, does this and that, but rather just let the musicians play so that the kids can hear how the instruments sound. And so that way, when they hear those given instruments playing a solo on various tracks, they'll be able to identify that instrument, you know, by its sound. And so I just, that was, and you know, the other thing I wanted to mention here is that there's sort of a live feel to this album, almost as though it's in front of a studio audience. And not all the tracks are that way, but there's a few of them. And that also kind of, I think, makes it a little more interactive, almost like there's an implied audience there. So, you know, I wanted to bring in that element too, so that the kids could feel like they were almost like part of the audience. Yeah,
like at a live show sort of thing. Yeah. Like, that's what I was going to say, because like when I've gone to like these jazz shows, they always like wait till the end and then they like, okay, so-and-so on the guitar and so-and-so on the drums, and you do your little solo, and then, you know, and I thought that was really cool, because when you listen to the album, like just completely, and it's closer to the end, I believe, you know, you get to kind of hear who the people are and just hear them like soloing and just give them the spotlight for a second or two. So I thought that was really cool. And then you ultimately have this whole like orchestral sort of vibe from like the cover to like the ending of the song, where you have like the audience sort of, you know, singing together. So I thought that experience is really cool, just from that part alone even. So that would be called, introducing the band, for anyone who's wondering. Very straightforward, introducing the band.
I struggled. I actually thought of a lot of like much more creative names, but you know, it's just kind of like, what am I doing here? I am introducing the band.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to call this cut.
Yeah, no, I mean, sometimes it's like less is more, and it's at the end of the day, it's a kid's album. So if it correlates for them, then, you know, everyone else will find where you're going with that.
For sure.
So, oh, okay. There was one that I thought was pretty funny. I had but 50 cents. Like, okay, the lyrics in that are really funny. I mean, and the thing is, it's like, to a degree, you have to be like so playful that you're not going to be worried about people being like, oh, well, that's not nice. Like, it's literally all fun and games and laugh. Like, I was laughing while I was recording because I'm like, this story is pretty hilarious. So yeah, what was the background for that?
I heard a version of Ricky Skaggs doing that on an obscure album that he did years ago. Okay. And that was sort of my first introduction to the song, but it's a very old folk song. I think it's in public domain. It's not really a kid's song, but it's so funny and kind of lighthearted and silly. I could see it being on a kid's album. I was a little conflicted about the alcohol part being on a kid's album, you know.
Like, oh my gosh, Kram.
Yeah. But you know, there's gluttony too, and I mean, you can't really talk about alcohol. I mean, the gluttony is just as bad a problem.
I mean, they're in the same neighborhood, right?
Yeah. So the bottom line is, this girl is just a tank, and she puts it down no matter if it's, you know, booze or food. And then, you know, the guy has no money to pay for his date. And that's really more the point of the song, is the fact that there's a guy that's, you know, he can't pay. That's, you know, and then he gets kicked out of the restaurant. And, you know, the whole thing is, take my advice. Don't try it twice if you've got but 50 cents. Right.
No, that's hilarious. And that's honestly something I really love about folk music, or even like in the Caribbean where we're from, well, my family's from, they have a lot of these old calypso songs, and they're basically folk songs. And, you know, it's not like, you know, they have vulgarity in there, or if it is, it's very like cleverly tucked in and interwoven into the lyrics.
For sure.
So I think it was just super cool to have a song like that. It was fun to record over, and it made me laugh. The other one that made me laugh a lot, actually, the Big Chalk Chicken. The lyrics were funny on that one too.
Yeah.
Like, what was the backstory?
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of folks don't know what a Big Chalk Chicken is. And old people back in the hills, they know what a chalk chicken is. So it's almost like they're called like whatnots or keepsakes, or sometimes people will collect in their homes like little precious moment, like little porcelain figurines. Yeah. Especially as they get older. No offense to anyone if you're collecting that stuff and you're older.
Who has lots of random figurines, and she's selling them. So
just imagine a chicken made of not expensive porcelain, but just, they called them chalk chickens because I think they were cheap. Okay. But they're basically just a white sort of non-porcelain material, I don't know, decorative thing that you would see on somebody's shelf or mantle, if they, you know, especially an older person, if they collected that kind of stuff. And so to answer your question, a music mentor of mine where I grew up, Wayne Davis of Hazard, Kentucky, who really got me started with recording in the late 90s, early 2000s. He had a home studio, and he, you know, growing up in southeastern Kentucky, we weren't that far from Nashville, Tennessee, and he was already making lots of trips down to Nashville and recording with and writing songs for big names. And he had a really elaborate setup for a home studio in those days, back before things were actually just kind of going to DAW based recording setups, coming off of analog. Anyways, so I went over there to track a few demos when I was like, I don't know, 20. And he had just written this song, The Big Chalk Chicken. He put it out on one of his albums, just with an acoustic guitar and his voice. But I thought it was just such a lovely song of a childhood memory of breaking something, and then having to own up for it, and then having, you know, his brothers lie and blame it on him when it wasn't him, and, you know, or whatever. And then so yeah, that was another one of those songs that was just kind of back in my head, and I thought, I'd love to pull this out and try to write a jazz arrangement.
I was wondering, who's Wayne?
Wayne, So I felt conflicted. I didn't, for a moment, I thought I'm going to say Graham is the guilty one on that lyric, but that wouldn't do honor and justice to Wayne, who wrote the song. So I kept it Wayne for him. He passed on. His children are around, and I actually sent them links to my version of their dad's song, The Big Chalk Chicken, hoping that they'll, think that's kind of special. But he was a force in my whole, everybody in East Kentucky and especially in Perry County Hazard, they all knew Wayne Davis. He wrote jingles for songs on the radio, a lot of original songs over the years. So yeah.
Nice. That's such a nice tribute, a nice way to pay homage to him. That's really great. I'm sure his kids are gonna love it. But yes, for the rest of you guys who just tuned in, we're talking about the new album, Graham Sparkman's Carnival of Song. This is the Graham Sparkman. Make sure you follow him on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Facebook. Did I miss one? Whatever your streaming platform of choice is. You can find it on my Spotify. It's linked together. So Graham Sparkman's Carnival of Song. So yeah, Big Chalk Chicken, that was a really funny one. Okay, I don't know why I keep thinking of Night at the Museum, but I guess it's just because it's called the Edison Museum. But this is another good one that's good for Halloween too, eh? It's kind of spooky.
Yes, another spooky one. This one was originally written by They Might Be Giants. I don't know if you guys remember Little Birdhouse in My Soul. That was their kind of big hit way back in the day. But just a quirky, awesome band that goes back decades. And I heard this on a kid's album that they did when my now 13-year-old was very small. At the time, somebody gave it to us as a gift. And it was my favorite cut on the whole album. And so, and I was just like, let's try this out. I knew it had really funky chords. I knew it had a funky chord progression. And it was going to be a challenge to kind of map that out and try to figure that out in a key that would match my vocal range, because I always have to kind of consider that. And so I started charting it, and it just kind of went from there. And I thought, I think this will be a good fit for the project.
Yeah, no, I remember having a little bit of trouble. I think I got that one early. You sent it to me in the first few batches of songs, but I only sent it at the end, towards the end of the project. Because when I was listening to it, I'm like, okay, let me try to record over this just to kind of get a feel. And I was just not getting the right key. Usually I can feel out where this is going. And I wasn't getting it. And I was like, dang, what's going on here? So I had to listen to it a little bit longer. But I know it's just something about when it has a little bit of an unusual kind of chord progression, it just makes your ear perk up a little bit more, and it kind of gives you a more memorable feel with it. So, but I really do enjoy it because it gives you that creepy feel. It's not meant to be a major kind of progression where it's all happy and you know exactly what chord is coming next. So
yeah, for sure. And it also gave me the opportunity to work in a lot of cool sound effects from the perspective of a child. I think that if you just do straight up music, you got to engage the kiddos, and so that's what I'm always trying to do with sound effects and things, just make it more interactive,
But again, what I was talking about from even before, just developing a musical ear, not even just for an educational purpose, but kind of, indirectly just through listening to the album, that's something that they can definitely start to pick up on. Because I guess it's what was this in minors? I'm not really trained in that, but I would, so minors are not typically something you'll get right off the bat. So I think that's a great way to kind of get your ear developed to those minor sounds, but in a fun way, because it's a creepy song, but it's also engaging and it's fun. Shout out to EJ, thanks for stopping by, and Lee_Leisha, thanks for stopping by. I hope I said that right. If I didn't, I'm so sorry. I'm very sorry. Okay, so we are just covering Graham Sparkman's Carnival of Song. Goodness. God Made the Possum. That's a really fun one. I mean, we're talking about a possum, but I mean, I didn't realize there was so much to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about with possums. You can cook them so many different ways.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that must be a real Southern thing. I mean, we don't really have possi. Is that the plural? Yeah, we don't have those here in Canada.
I would not even attempt the plural.
I had heard it in a TV show, so I'm like, let me keep that in my memory bank here.
Well, my wife calls them opossums because, there's that whole, O. I don't know if it's
instead
silent.
of it's O. Okay, I got you. Yeah.
I don't even spell it that way. I don't know. Maybe that's a British thing. Who knows? I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah. Anyways, my great-grandfather, Sherman Campbell, reportedly said that his favorite thing was a boiled possum.
Oh.
I,
That's so random.
I don't know. I have
Of
never
all
had
animals.
it. But I mean, if you've got meat roaming around in the woods and you're hungry, you'll eat lots of stuff, I think,
That's
so
very true.
yeah.
Oh, someone just said they eat them here in St. Vincent. Like, you know what? That's very I actually, this makes a lot of sense. We have something called a guti, and there's a manikou, which I believe is a wild rat. It's a very large possum or a very small one. I guess they're all in the same family. So I get what you're saying, Xando. And thanks for tuning in, by the way. Thank you. Sorry. So, so yeah.
All rodent-based creatures.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, so yeah, like, did you have like a bit of an inspiration? Because I know you said you had a lot of like background, just like doing a lot of like, well, you have a very like strong religious background, and doing a lot of like music with the church and stuff like that. Did you want to like sort of fuse that together? Like, was that your intention, or like how did that come about for this album?
For you're asking for God Made the Possum?
Yeah.
Or okay, well, yeah, well, God Made the Possum, I think Tim White wrote that song. I'd have to check my notes again on that one. But it was put out on an album called The Possum Tapes, which was a silly, awesome album of all possum songs, all done in a bluegrass style. And I heard that when I was a kid. I mean, that thing was put out probably in the early 90s. But anyways, I don't know. It's just, because animals are so, connected to kids too. You think about, and so I thought about that song because it talks about God putting together the possum. And yeah, of course, I with my faith and everything, I wanted to bring in an element of that for sure, in creation and such, and God creating the world and animals and such. But yeah, just that song in particular, how funny it is about he took the head and tail of a big old rat, the body of a porcupine. Yeah. He put in some. He removed the quills. He removed the quills. Yeah. Put in some hair.
Yeah. No, honestly, I just thought it just gave me flashbacks of like those old albums I was listening to as a kid, like the kid albums. It was a lot of different animals involved and stuff like that. So I was getting those flashbacks while I was recording as well. So yeah, I think it would be so cool to like even have like some alternate, artwork for the album of something like that. I think it would be really cool. Just visually. Okay, so there was 2 songs on there that I actually didn't know were going to be on because I think I did the 8, and then there's 10 in total. So there's the McDonald's farm, Sebastian McDonald's farm. So that's kind of like a play on the old McDonald's had a farm kind of.
Yeah, I did that. That song came in really late on the project, and I did my own backing vocals for that one, and it kind of worked, and I just kind of went with it on the fly. And anyways, I just I thought, I don't even know where I came up with it. Makes me laugh trying to think. I don't know how in the world I thought of this idea, but I thought, what if I was probably driving my kids to school, because that's when I think of all this weird stuff in the minivan. It's probably dropping them off, and thought, what if old McDonald had this like estranged brother named Sebastian who had like really weird animals? Yeah. And I think that's just like where the song, it just went from there. So it was like, okay, well, if he had weird animals, what would they be? And I think I Googled like just the weirdest of animals, and like a blobfish came up, and I can't even remember some of the other ones. But a manga, actually, that's something that probably nobody knows about. It's actually a reference back to one of my older albums that I did. There's a song I wrote called The Manga. When my grandmother started to kind of go senile a little bit, she kept saying that she kept seeing this creature called a manga that was getting into her garden and all this stuff and terrorizing her garden. And there was nothing. But but I thought, well, a manga is like a perfect example of like this Appalachian version of like a Bigfoot or Loch Ness monster, or just some mythical creature that roams around the countryside causing, creating havoc. Well, anyways, so I brought the manga back for this project, and then I don't know, I did all those sounds with my voice, like the sound of the blobfish, and the manga, and the wombat. That's an Australian weird looking creature.
Oh, anyway, yeah, I was like, what are these things? Now I'm like, okay.
And the whole like narrative section at the beginning of the song about how, you know, he's like has a lawsuit with his brother. I don't know. It was crazy, and I just went with it, and it ended up going on the album. So it is what it is.
I mean, it's fun. It's like at the end of the day, it's for kids. This is a kids album, and I think it really just, you know, it did just that. It does justice to the kids' palette for sure. I think they're gonna have fun with that. Because honestly, I will say, it does take a little bit of a sophisticated ear, and I'll even say some people my age can't really appreciate jazz sometimes. So I think you really do have to cater to the specific listeners. So again, really great job with that. I just think this was such a genius idea.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
I had so much fun with this project, really. I feel like I've just grown so much as a musician and like as an artist too, because I feel like having somebody else like edify me and then also be like comfortable enough to like let me take on such a massive part of their project is just like, thank you for trusting me with that. And, you know, actually like, I feel like you've just given me a whole lot of confidence too. Because sometimes I think as musicians, we kind of let it go over our head. Like if we're good at something because it's either easy or whatever for us. But
well, you are most welcome. Absolutely. One thing I wanted to say to your credit, that's truly amazing about you is you're not afraid to take risks. And just go hog wild, go for it. And you were never afraid to do that. And that's because other people I've worked with in the past were more like just straight laced and they wouldn't take any risks. And it was just kind of like predictable, boring, whatever, you know? So yeah, I mean, part of the reason that the album sounds so awesome is because all of the vocal ornamentation that you did and just going out on a limb and just doing awesome stuff. I mean, I would be in my studio hearing some of that stuff for the first time that you would do, and it wouldn't even be mixed out. You know, no effects, no reverb, no panning, no EQ, nothing. And I'd be hearing it for the first time, and I would fall out of my chair laughing, but in an awesome way. Like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard. Like, that girl.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what made the album.
I have to credit you too, because really, I think just seeing how open you were and how like willing to be wild with the project, whether it sounded good or not, like it was just like, I'm like, you know what, if he's willing to just be weird and just go all out on this album, I'm gonna have to match that energy too. And I just like, I had to just get rid of whatever like, you know, shyness I might have had, because I'm not gonna lie, when we did I think it was which one was it? It was I had but 50 cents. It was that one.
Yeah.
The girl was talking about how she's gonna bring her family, even though she's just eaten up and drank all this food, and the guy only has 50 cents, and he was like, "Oh crap, she's gonna bring her family." Like, so I had to do like the little her voice, right? And I was just like, "Oh, how am I gonna do this? This is gonna be so weird." But I mean, it ended up coming out really good.
I was like, you just got to do like, you got to do like a character voice, like whatever you want to do. I really don't care. Just make up your own character. It's like, I'll bring my family and we'll have lots of fun. And you did. And it was like perfect. I think even my brother said he was like listening with his headphones on. And when it got to that point in the song, he was just like, you know, it just, it's got a wow factor to it, you know?
Yeah. But you know what? I don't know. I think it was one of these characters that I'd heard in like one of these, like, I think it might have either been the Beauty and the Beast or it might have been the Little Mermaid, but they had like some of these random characters would have these little 1 or 2 liners and these like one of their little songs like in between the movie or whatever. And I just remember like how that would add to the song itself, right? And so I had to kind of channel like my inner Disney character voice. So that's kind of how
you did
it. It had
it worked.
To,
it was awesome.
Thank you so much. Shout out to the Onyx Chord. Thanks for tuning in. So just for you, any of you guys who are just tuning in now, a little bit late. I mean, we're gonna wrap up in about another 5-10 minutes. But this has been an amazing chat with the Graham Sparkman from Graham Sparkman's Carnival of Song. So that is a new jazz album for kids. I'm on the back vocals for the entire album except for one song. Well, technically 2 songs. On one song, I am doing the lead, so you can check that out. It's called Skin and Bones. That's the Halloween song. And yeah, it's just a really fun album. I mean, even if you're an adult or you have grandkids or nieces and nephews and things like that, neighbors, just people with kids, I would definitely encourage you to let them check that out too. It's on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Music, all the good stuff, right? Oh, Vince Space. Oh my gosh, my dude, you came in so late. What's going on, man? I'm gonna post it for you. Don't worry. But thanks for tuning in, anyways. He always comes to my lives. He's so cool. So, yeah, Graham Sparkman's Carnival of Song. Make sure you follow him on his new Instagram account. So it's this one right here. Granny Goes to Heaven. What's up from? I believe he's in the UK. What's up? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so it's a really fun jazz album for kids. On Spotify, you can find me, find his album, follow him. It's all linked in together. Is there any closing remarks, Mr. Sparkman, before we close the live?
Aliah, thank you so very much for allowing me to be on your Instagram show. It's been a real awesome deal. No, for real. This album, from start to finish, over the last year and a half, has just been, it's been an honor to work with you. You were much more than a background vocalist. You were a collaborator. You collaborated with me. We shot ideas back and forth,
for sure.
and artistically and creatively worked out and hashed out a lot of details via text and emails and voice, whatever you call them, talking into your phone. Voice notes in your phone. Anyways, this album was a true labor of love, and I don't just put it out to my kiddos, but all the children of the world and all the grown-ups who are still children in their hearts. There's something in and that's a good point. I didn't, because I've heard a lot of wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round and round, and you want to, it just, I did not want to put out that kind of album. I didn't want to, Mama, because I've been with kids for over a decade, and I've been about to go nuts when hearing that stuff. I did not want to I wanted to put out something that the grown-ups could appreciate as much as the kids. So my hope is that a little something in here for everybody.
Absolutely. I mean, this has been such a pleasure. I know you just had me on here. Like, initially was just as the back vocalist, but really, like I said, this really hit home for me. So, it was so much more than just back vocals. Like, this was a project that I'm like, this is something that I'm going to be sending to my cousins and to my, future nieces and nephews. I have a couple of young cousins now that, just were born within the pandemic or a couple years before that. So,
for sure.
Shout out to my dentist, Dr. Indig, Jeff. Your granddaughter will definitely be getting a copy. So, but yeah, this is something that I really wanted to make sure I put my heart and soul into just as much as you did. And I've worked with kids. For a lot of you guys that don't know, before I was in full musician mode, and even while I was in musician mode, I was working at different community centers and camps, and as after school program tutors and working in high schools. I've worked with kids from ages 5 to 17 for the last 10-15 years of my life. So I really do love children, and this was really one of the best ways that I could, really give back and actually put my music and my love for children into one project. So I really hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure you go follow Graham Sparkman. It is spelled exactly the way it sounds. So if you see somebody else's name, it's not him. So make sure you follow him. This is his new Instagram account. So show him some love. Go give him some follows. Get those follows up on Facebook as well, YouTube, Instagram. All the stuff. Plus the streaming platforms and everything. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to let you get to sleep and do what you got to do. It's a new week for tomorrow.
It's overrated.
To recharge.
I never sleep.
Yeah. Well, we're going to need to recharge over here on the East Coast. But anyways, thank you so much for everyone tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the album. I know I didn't ask if anyone had questions, but y'all didn't put any in there, so I'm assuming you don't. But even if you do, it's okay. You can DM me. It's all good. I'll answer. And I hope you guys enjoyed the album. Let me know what you think. And have a good night. Thanks so much, Graham.
Bye, everybody. Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams. All right, bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
There is a secret agent. John Kram is his name. He spies on all the bad guys and he locks them in a cage. He's got some fancy weapons and he's a master of kung fu. Don't you mess with John Kram or he might come after you. Oh, yeah! John Kram got a phone call from the boss at Intermo. He said, John, you've gotta come quickly. There's something you must know. Mr. Green Jean stole the secret papers. You've gotta go hunt him down. Stop green jeans, get the papers, don't you